City Council for March 2nd, 2026 at 6 p.m. Ready for the invocation, please. Thanks.
Let's pray. Father, as always, we just paused at the beginning of our time together to refocus. As we gather tonight, we only have the freedom to do so because there are men and women who are putting their life in peril so that we can have this freedom. So we just pray a special blessing over our troops who are fighting on our behalf, that we can have this time together tonight. And just as those military leaders are making decisions, there will be decisions made tonight that affect the lives of other people. So we just lean on your wisdom to do so, God. We thank you that you offer it to us, and we just trust in it as we make decisions tonight. We love you, and we thank you for this time. In Jesus' name, amen.
I've called to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now I'll ask the clerk for a roll call, please.
Councilmember Sutton,
Sorry, chair issues.
Here.
Councilmember Coxwell,
Here.
Councilmember Lawson,
Present.
Councilmember Carter,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Oder.
Present.
You have a quorum.
I thank you very much. I would also remind everyone, please, to silence your phones. And also, if you speak, you need to come under the podium, give your name, your address, and/or your organization. All right, next I see approve of the agenda. But I'm also going to make a motion to adopt 11.9 Resolution 2606. Do I have that motion? Like to, well, he told me to use the word adapt.
We're looking to add resolution 2606. What is it?
Yes, sir. The resolution that you have in front of you is a resolution that authorizes the city manager to submit a grant application. And so that would be an addition right now to the agenda, and then later on we'll discuss it for potential adoption.
Thank you.
I need a motion.
Oh, make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Then I call for the vote. And it passes unanimously. Thank you. Next is a special presentation. Need a motion to approve the Mayor Pro Tem to sign the letter, thank you letter to Kobe Fontaine.
I make the motion. Second.
In discussion? Call for the vote. Right. I may. The City of Mary Esther, a thank you letter for Kobe Fontaine. Whereas as it is the duty of the organization to recognize and commend acts of extraordinary commitment, responsibility, presence of mind that safeguards both our personnel and integrity operations. And whereas Kobe Fontaine has recognized as the Firefighter of the Year for Ocean City Wright Fire Control District for his hard professionalism, dedication, leadership, reflection of highest levels of standards in the Ocean City Fire Department District. And whereas he demonstrates the foundations and cultures of the department in his actions, providing an example for others, seeks to help others by mentoring and training probabilities firefighters into strong leaders and for the future. Whereas he ensures that he is ready for service no matter the situation by employing a proactive approach and leading an example of problem solving, and the initiative ability to provide solutions when needed, not just when convenient. And whereas the respect and admiration of his peers, officers alike, for his professionalism, technical skills, steady demeanor, have made him a trusted and valued member of the Ocean City Wright Fire District, demonstrated by his actions, attitude, and respect earned every day. Now, therefore, I, Bernie Yoder, the Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Mary Esther, acting as mayor, on behalf of our citizens, I am pleased to tender this thank you letter to you with our sincere thanks and dedication of service to the welfare of our community. Unfortunately, I don't have $2 bills, so I'll have to come back for the mayor. Again, thank you for. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Congratulations. Moving on, I need the motion, no, let's see, motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Lawson's the first,
I'll second.
Ms. Coxwell's the second. Any discussions? Call for the vote. And it passed unanimously. Thank you. Moving on down, citizens who have requested to be put on the agenda. I don't have any that I'm aware of. Okay, good. Next is public comments. Anyone wishing to speak for anything that's not on the agenda? Oh, that was too easy. All right, moving on. We're motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 26.
Hold on the motion for the ordinances.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem and Council. For the record, Tyler Reed, Community Development Director. Tonight, we are presenting the second reading of Ordinance 2026-01, Development Review Procedures. The Florida Legislature enacted Senate Bill 1080 during the 2025 regular session, which was signed into law and became effective on October 1st, 2025. SB 1080 revises timeframes for processing development permit applications, requiring confirmation of application receipt within 5 business days, and establishes deadlines for complete reviews and final action. Local implementation of SB 1080 ensures compliance with state law, promotes timely decision-making, and improves predictability for applications and applicants. The legislature has also enacted amendments to 166.033 Florida statutes, requiring municipalities to establish clear written requirements for minimum submittal information, confirmation of receipt of applications, and specific deadlines for review and action on such applications. The proposed ordinance aims to align the city's development review process with these new state requirements, establish clear procedures and deadlines for reviewing development applications, define roles and limitations for the technical review committee, and ensure efficient, transparent, and lawful handling of both major and minor development projects. These measures intend to promote timely investment and compliance with statutory mandates while protecting public interests. The first reading of the ordinance took place at the City Council meeting on February 2nd, 2026, with a unanimous approval. Upon receiving a development application, the administrative authority must conduct a sufficiency review and notify the applicant within 5 business days whether the application is complete or has deficiencies. Major and minor development applications require a first compliance review within 30 calendar days of the sufficiency review's completion. Applicants have 30 days to address deficiencies. Subsequent reviews shall be completed within 10 days of resubmittal. The city may request additional information no more than 3 times unless the applicant waives that right. Before a third request is made, a meeting must be offered to resolve the issues. If the applicant responds promptly, the city must deem the application complete and proceed with approval or denial. Applications not requiring hearings must be decided within 120 days of completeness. Those requiring hearings must be decided within 180 days. Extensions can be agreed upon, and decisions must include written findings. Timeframes reset if substantive changes occur. Refunds are required for failure to meet deadlines unless the delay is caused by the applicant. an agreed extension or force majeure event. Sections 2.06.00, 2.07, and 2.08 are amended to detail procedures for development plan review, including the roles of the technical review committee, review timelines, and processing steps for major and minor developments in accordance with statutory requirements. The city must issue a final development order within 30 calendar days of application if all requirements are met, detailing conditions, schedules, bonds, and compliance assurances. This order is required before construction permits. That concludes this presentation. Are there any questions?
No questions? All right, I'll ask the city clerk to read resolution 2026-01, please.
Ordinance 2026-01, an ordinance of the City of Mary Esther, Florida, establishing procedures and timeframes for review of development applications, defining technical review, committee, and chair, amending Land Development Code Section 2.06.00, 2.07.00, 2.08.00, and incorporating provisions of Chapter 2025-177, Senate Bill 1080, providing findings of fact, providing for purpose, providing for codification, providing for an effective date.
I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I call for the vote. And it passed unanimously. Next one, let's see, we're down to 10.2, motion for the city council to approve the preliminary development order, PDO amendments, and the unity of title for the proposed big box retailer grocery market consistent with the findings and conditions outlined in this report.
Good evening again. For the record, Tyler Reed, Community Development Director. Tonight, staff is presenting consideration for the preliminary development order amendment and the concept of a unity of title for the big box retail. The local planning agency recommended approval of the preliminary development order for the development or redevelopment of a portion of the Santa Rosa Mall, as you know. The proposal is for a big box retail grocery market along with an associated fuel station. On November 17th, 2025, the LPA voted to recommend this approval with 1 against. The project was then presented to the City Council on December 8th, 2025, which approved the preliminary development order contingent on conditions being met with 2 votes against. The following conditions were: 1, the preliminary plat must be consistent with the proposed site plan. Any minor or major changes of the approved PDO site plan will need to come back to the council for approval. Any changes of the preliminary plat will follow City of Mary Esther planning procedures. 2, preliminary or final plat does not create a condition where variances or special exceptions are needed. 3, utility services agreement considered or approved with preliminary plat application. 4, preliminary plat shall meet the statutory requirements for a plat made for recording. That is what the final plat must show under section 177.091 in City of Mary Esther Planning Procedures Ordinance 2025-06. 5, updated site plan showing any improvements / redevelopment fits within the new plat boundaries for PDO only. And 6, if a complete preliminary plat is not submitted to the city for review within 45 calendar days, starting from December 8th, 2025, the preliminary development order automatically expires unless extended 15 days, pending on the approval from city manager or designee. Having met the conditions, the preliminary development order was officially approved on January 20th, 2026. CPH Engineering, on behalf of the applicant, David Schomburger, is now requesting approval for revisions to the approved PDO. In addition, we are presenting again the unity of title from the applicant. The unity title, as we spoke in previous meetings, is required for the approval of the PDO and preliminary plat to remain compliant with the approved conditions, the land development code, and platting procedures. The following amendments to the PDO for approval that is being presented tonight is: one, proposed increase in the big box store's overall square footage from approximately 48,000 square feet to 53,190 square feet of impervious surface, increasing 26 feet of depth on the southern portion of the principal building. The associated fuel station and convenience store will remain the same. Two, adjusted parking layout for 21 pickup parking spaces south of the pharmacy drive-through. Three, relocated utility connections north of the principal building. Four, added screening and storage area to the west of the principal building. Five, decreased impervious area and increased pervious landscape area for the ingress-egress loading zone area. Six, adjusted stormwater drainage. And seven, adjusted utility connections, which are subject to change. Public Works reviewed the stormwater changes and had no comment. Jacobs Engineering, our consultant, reviewed the utility proposals, and staff, along with Jacobs and CPH, will be working to finalize the utility plan to meet the code and our regulations surrounding utilities. The utility plan can be finalized with the final development order. Staff asks council to strike the utility plan changes proposed with the amended PDO that's placed before you tonight and move it to the final development order stage where required connections can be made. For the unity of title proposal, the applicant intends to record to tie together multiple parcels within the redevelopment area. This ensures unified site access, infrastructure, and coordinated development. The proposed title identifies 3 lots, parcel 1, parcel 2, and parcel 3, which will all function as an integrated development. Parcel 2 contains the proposed grocery store use, while parcels 1 and 3 are planned for ingress, egress, future redevelopment, and open space, respectively. The unity of title is a mechanism that has not been used in the city of Mary Esther before. It has been used in neighboring jurisdictions to remedy certain complex land conditions. And again, if the unity of title is not approved, the site plan as presented will have a front setback violation for the proposed convenience store, and the preliminary plat will also be out of compliance. So the unity of title as presented tonight, we are just asking not an approval for the actual document, but for the concept of the unity of title, because we are still in the process of finalizing this document. So as for the PDO amendments, staff or city council may approve, deny, or table the amendments and unity of title for the proposed big box retail grocery market. And we just want to emphasize as well that we will bring, once a unity of title is finalized, we can bring it back to council for a final approval. And we also want to ensure that our utility plan and utility services agreement is going to, once we get that negotiated and figure it out, we can also bring that to council as well for final approval. So that that concludes my presentation. If there are any questions.
I have a question.
Yes.
When do you anticipate the unity of title to be complete?
Well, they need to approve the plat, so that'll create the lots 1, 2, and 3. Right now, until that plat's done, it's still just one, broken up pieces of property.
but they're not 1, 2, and 3. So that plat will need to be approved. They'll need to get new legal descriptions and have deeds prepared for those lots. So to show that the owners in the unity title have the legal, and it'll probably be something along the lines of what you may have seen before, lot 1 of plat,
Right.
plat, book and page number, right? So they'll have those in there, and then all we got to do is basically marry those things together, and then it's just kind of administrative at that point. Get it signed, have it filed, and then it's in the public record.
And is this going to be the final revision to this development order?
To my knowledge. The applicant does have representatives tonight as well, and they can speak more to that if you'd like to
Yes, I'd like to hear from them.
hear from
please.
them.
For the record, Kirsten Cavender, CPH Engineers. Address is 1340 West Government Street, Pensacola. We have no plans for any other revisions. We simply wanted to address storage concerns, pharmacy concerns, online pickup concerns, stormwater and utility connection concerns.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
21? 21 pickup spots? That's a lot of pickup spots.
Does the city manager have any comment about this?
Yes, sir. So my only comment was going to be on the utilities side. We've talked about that quite a bit the last few days, and we have another meeting tomorrow. And so our hope is that we can get all these items kind of addressed pretty quickly and bring them back at one time. But in the meantime, our understanding is that if the PDO is approved, then that would allow them to continue with their planning as well.
So you support the measure?
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion? Well, what do we want to do? We want to approve of the PDO so they can move forward?
I'll make the motion to approve it.
I second.
Any more discussion? All right, I call for the vote. And it's 4-1. Mr. Lawson is negative. Next. Sorry, hang on. Where my piece of paper? Moving on to 11.1, motion to approve the annual comprehensive.
Hold on the motions.
11.1. Consideration of fiscal year or 2024 to 2025 annual comprehensive financial report. I can read.
Hey, that's a mouthful. I get it. So my name is Joel Bradley, and I am an audit principal at Warren Averett, and I'm here to talk about the city's financial statements and the audit. Thank you. So also here from Warren Averett with me are Tammy McGoy. Tammy served as the engagement partner for several years and now is involved in the quality control of the audit. And Sloan Perkins, who is the in-charge auditor, and she supervises all the staff on site and really does most of the work. So with those introductions out of the way, let's dive into the results before looking at some information on financial performance metrics. So first off, our audit report is an unmodified opinion on the city's financial statements, and that means that the city's financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. It's a clean opinion. It's the highest level of assurance we can provide, and this is a similar opinion to what the city has gotten each of the last 10 years or more even. Professional auditing standards also require us to communicate to the council any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in the city's internal controls over financial reporting or material instances of non-compliance. I'm happy to report that there were no such deficiencies in internal controls or material instances of non-compliance. And then finally, this year, the city exceeded the $750,000 threshold for state grant expenditures, which requires us to perform a Florida single audit. In a single audit, we performed testing over the city's compliance with specific requirements mandated by the grant funding agency. In this case, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. The biggest major project the city had this year was improvements to Ray's Pond, the stormwater project. So our single audit disclosed no instances of non-compliance with those state grant compliance requirements, and we had noted no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in the city's internal controls over compliance. So that is as good of a report as you can get for the city's finances. So I'll dive into some performance metrics now. And I realize this is small, but you guys should have a paper copy in front of you. So I've put together some data on both the City of Mary Esther and some of what I would consider similar municipalities. So these list all of the municipalities in Florida that have both governmental and enterprise funds, populations between 3,500 and 8,500, and an assessed value of taxable property between 350 million and 500 million. So these municipalities can essentially be thought of as the city's peers from a size and financial resource standpoint. So I'll explain what some of these metrics are measuring, and some of them I've got additional slides on, and we'll go into further detail later in the presentation. But I'll start with millage rate sensitivity. Millage rate sensitivity shows the property taxes that would be generated or lost by a 1/10 change in the millage rate. So for example, going from 5.0261, which is the city's current millage rate, to 5.1261, it would generate another $46,000 of property taxes. It's directly correlated with the assessed value of taxable property, and it provides information on a municipality's ability to levy property taxes on its residents. Another one I'd like to talk about is long-term debt per capita. That is calculated by taking the city's outstanding long-term debt for its governmental activities divided by the population. This is a concept that's pretty much everyone can understand. The more debt per resident that a municipality has, the less flexibility it has to determine how its resources can be utilized. Months of cash and investment. Basically, this is just, the governmental funds, cash and investments to non-capital expenditures. So we are not including any significant capital expenditures in there. You can essentially think of this as operating expenditures. A general rule of thumb is that the municipality should never let this get below 3 months. And obviously the City of Mary Esther is above that. I'd like to talk about fund balance available for spending. That is essentially the assigned and unassigned fund balance divided by the total fund balance in the governmental funds. And it represents the percentage of fund equity that does not have to be used for a specific purpose. The Government Finance Officers Association recommends that this should always exceed 2 months of expenditures for the general fund. I'm happy to report the city's general fund had about 10.5 months of expenditures at the end of FY25. So the next slide that I have here in front of me shows those exact same metrics that were presented on the last slide, except this is for the City of Mary Esther itself over the prior 10-year period. So this is kind of useful because you can identify trends and look at how things have changed from one year to the next. So without getting too far into this, there's just a couple of them that I would like to go into further detail on, and I've got some graphs that are much easier to follow along and understand here. So this slide here shows the assessed taxable value of property per capita, which is essentially the total assessed value of taxable property in the city divided by the number of residents. Now, both this one and the millage rate sensitivity that I talked about at the beginning are called revenue capacity measures. They basically, there's a finite amount of taxes that can be levied. So this kind of measures what that capacity is to levy taxes on residents. So the higher the ratio, the more flexibility a government has to raise additional funds if needed. And so the yellow line there represents the FY24 average of these municipalities presented. which is about $76,000. So obviously, the city is much better positioned than most of its peers in regard to revenue capacity. And one of the reasons I wanted to point this out is that despite the decline in the taxable assessed value of some of the highest taxpayers in this city, such as the Santa Rosa Mall, for example, despite that, the tax value per resident is still rising. And we would expect this trend to continue forward as the additional redevelopment takes place on that Santa Rosa Mall site. This slide here shows governmental funds, non-capital expenditures per capita, which is the non-capital expenditures and the governmental funds divided by the population. If you want to think of this simply, it is basically operating expenditures per resident. How much, this is the dollars being spent for governmental operations per resident. So the yellow line represents the FY24 average, which is about $1,163. So I would say, the reason I point this out is that this ratio is one that I would say, for those of you familiar with the concept of the Goldilocks zone, when you're looking for other planets, you want one that's too far enough away from the sun that it's not going to be on fire, and one that's close enough that it's still not frozen. That's kind of how this ratio is. You don't want it to be too high or too low. If it gets too high, residents may question the efficiency or the fiscal responsibility of the government. As it gets too low, residents are going to question what you're using their money for, that you are levying those taxes on them. So when comparing this ratio to other municipalities, it can be useful to know what each municipality is providing. So for example, Mary Esther, McClenny, and Mulberry are the three on this list that do not have police departments. They all contract with the counties they are in for kind of an enhanced law enforcement contract. Whereas Defuniak Springs, Lake Clark Shores, Bellevue, and Mulberry all have community redevelopment agencies as well. So these municipalities report economic environment expenditures that the others do not, that are funded by tax increment financing proceeds. So this next slide shows the exact same ratio for the city of Mary Esther, but over the previous 10-year period. So as you can see, that those expenditures per resident have increased by about 50% over the last 10 years, while the population has increased by about 14% over that same time period. So in general, when you see a trend like this, it may be indicative that a government may not be able to maintain its current service levels unless there is a corresponding increase in revenues per resident. And that's exactly what the case is here with Mary Esther. So as I mentioned, this went up 50%, but the revenue per resident has gone up 53% over that same time period, which means you've not overextended yourself or the city has not overextended itself in any way, shape, or form, that those revenues are fully covering these expenditures. And this is the last graphical representation that I have for you tonight, and it just shows the operating profit ratio of the water and sewer system. So that's just the net income from operations divided by gross operating revenues, and this kind of shows the extent to which the water and sewer funds are self-sustaining. Because when these operations are not self-sustaining, the government may have to use reserves, issue debt, or significantly increase charges in order to finance the enterprise operations. And so I think what's useful about this slide, it shows that after, 6 straight years of sustained losses, the water and sewer fund finally returned to solid profitability in 22 and in FY23. And now it's kind of, the trend is falling back the other direction a little bit. So given the number of planned capital projects over, the next 5 to 10 years in the water and sewer fund, and the expected increase in annual debt service when those SRF loans start being required to be paid back, this is kind of worth monitoring in future periods to ensure that the city has adequate reserves. So what can you take away from all this? So as I pointed out kind of earlier, the governmental funds, months of cash and investment, that number kind of looked big, but it's important to point out that it came down about 6 months from where it was at in the prior year. Because, the city's expended on capital outlay and debt service. And, due to the number of planned capital projects over the next 3 to 5 years, which you guys know there's some pretty good sized ones, this is important to monitor to ensure that the city maintains adequate reserves as those projects are undertaken. As far as non-capital governmental expenditures per capita or the expenditures per resident, the city's ratio looks to be in a healthy position. Like I said, it's not the highest and it's not the lowest. And it's important to point out that the non-capital expenditures per capita are increasing at almost the same rate as the related revenues, which indicates the city has not overextended itself in recent years. And then finally, on the enterprise funds operating profit, as I pointed out, the profits have decreased in each of the last 3 years. So council and management should continue to monitor whether the rates charged for the services are adequate to cover the rising costs of operating that water and sewer utility. And that is all I have. So I will ask if there are any questions.
Mayor Pro Tem, I have a question. Sir, the enterprise funds operating profit, the impact of COVID, I imagine that does factor these numbers, but maybe not immediately because we show that we're what, 2019, 2020. I imagine COVID had to have an impact upon our consumption of data, consumption of services. And then what year did we have the increase on water? It was 10%, 10%. What was the third, what was the time? Do you remember the time period of that, sir?
Right on the time.
2020, 21, 22, I think roughly.
I was going to say, I think that from 21 to 22, that big jump was caused by a substantial rate increase that happened from 21 to 22. So those rate increases have been maintained over the last few years. It's just maybe the rates aren't increasing at the same level as the costs are rising.
Right.
And there's also, I want to say that the city has a consultant come in and look at those rates to determine whether they are adequate to cover the cost of the system. And that is something that is being planned over the next year, is that somebody's going to come in and take a look at those rates.
But in your professional opinion, was there a way to measure the impact of COVID?
I mean, across all the municipalities that I've seen, it just had a big increase in consumption. I mean, everybody staying at home, there was a lot more usage out there. But the rate is still an important thing, because if the rate is not adequate enough to cover those costs, you're just losing a bigger chunk every time somebody flushes the toilet. And so I think the rate increases that happened after that have, put it in a much healthier place. But it's also important to point out that operating profit includes depreciation expense, which is a substantial expense for the city and is not a cash expense. So just because you're looking at a negative operating profit, it does not mean that you cash flowed negative amounts. I mean, every single year the city is still, from its operations, is generating positive cash flows. That's also an important thing to keep in mind.
Thank you.
Of course. Any other questions? Well, if that's it, then I would like to just quickly say a special thank you to Ms. Heather Day, the finance director. Most people do not understand the amount of time and energy and effort that goes into satisfying us auditors. Nobody's ever happy to see us show up on site. So she's done a great job in order to help us get this audit completed in a timely fashion, so that I'm able to come up here and give you this presentation each March. Well, we really appreciate the time, and it was truly a pleasure to serve the city. If any of you have questions on anything after this presentation is over, Mr. Cobb and Ms. Day both know how to get a hold of me, and I'd be happy to answer.
I have a question, sir.
Yes, sir.
Each year, is it new auditors come in? I've seen your face before.
Yes.
I'm not sure I've had the pleasure of meeting these ladies, but I'm just, in my own mind, Heather has done an outstanding job, but it always comes back over familiarity with the same people. So, but it's not the same people. A few times
It's
I've
not
stopped
always
in.
the same people
Okay.
every year. We have, like I said, Tammy now used to be the one that was in my role signing off on it, and now I'm the one signing off. And, you know, at some point, somebody else will step up into that role. And I think this is now the third or fourth year that Sloan has supervised in the field. But yeah, I don't think we have an overfamiliarity because um, even though I may be the one signing off, we have people from Pensacola and Panama City that get in and review, do that quality control review, and are questioning me about how we're doing things. So it helps to have some familiarity, but there is also a set of eyes outside of the regular audit team that's always reviewing these engagements and ensuring that all the i's are dotted and the t's are crossed. So despite the fact that the personnel is somewhat the same, um, we do have a fresh outside perspective every single year.
Good, thank you. Anyone else?
Good job, Heather.
Yes, continue. Good job.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciate the time. Thank you, Mr. Morris.
Okay, next, 11.2, resolution 26.
Hold on, now you have the motion. The
Oh,
motions are at the end.
Oh, I was right. Sorry. Motion to approve the annual comprehensive financial report and fiscal year ended September 30th, 2025.
I make that motion.
I have a first.
Second.
I have a second. Any other discussion? Heather, do you want to say something? No? Okay. I call for the vote. And it passed unanimously. Next one, 11.2, resolution 26-05, City Hall renovation budget reappropriations and reallocations.
Heather Day, Finance Director. In 2025, council approved $765,674 for the City Hall renovation project. Only about $44,000 was spent during last fiscal year, and because appropriations do not automatically roll forward, the remaining $721,681 was returned to fund balance at year end. So last year we were hoping that the project would have been completed at the time we were doing the budget for the current year. So we didn't budget those funds, but they ended up rolling back into the fund balance. And so to continue the project as planned, staff is requesting that council reappropriate this $721,681 in the current fiscal year. So this does not represent new spending. It simply restores funding previously approved by council. As construction progressed, two council-approved additions increased the cost. So we had the hurricane shutters and the sidewalk and curb replacement to address the safety concerns at the new City Hall. So along with some minor adjustments, the project is now approximately $35,000 over the original budget. So to cover the overage, staff recommends redirecting $50,000 from the maintenance shop roof replacement project that was funded this year. So putting that on hold, taking $50,000 from that, because I believe we budgeted about $74,000 this year for that project. So taking that and putting it towards the new City Hall. Both of these projects fall within the facilities budget, so we don't have to really do a budget amendment for that one. So really what we're just requesting with budget resolution 25-06 is to reappropriate the $721,681.20 to restore the City Hall renovation budget, and then to approve the reallocation of the $50,000 from the maintenance shop roof project to the City Hall project.
Councilmember Carter, you okay with the 20 cents? Okay.
Works for me.
I do have a question for Sean.
Yeah.
On kicking this roof repair down the road, how far are you looking going in the future with that? The next fiscal year or the subsequent?
Sean Lindsay, Director of Public Works. So the roof repair's been needed for a while, but it's not changing much. So we're doing some spot repairs to kind of get by until we decide if there's some major improvements that need to be made. So yeah, we probably will kick it the next budget year and ask for it again, depending on other decisions the city makes.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Resolution 26-05, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Mary Esther, Florida, providing for an increase in the general fund expense budget in the amount of $721,681.20 and providing for an effective date of March 2nd, 2026.
Okay, and the motion
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
first
I'll second.
and a second. Any other discussion? I call for the vote. And it passed unanimously. Next, 11.3, consideration of selection of a contractor to conduct the utility rate study.
Yes, so Mayor and Council, as you know, at the last council meeting, we had a gentleman that came forward and had some questions about billing practices and how we charge hotels for their hotel rooms. And so we have done some research on this, and you can see there's a few examples here. One of the better ones being Broward County that did a pretty extensive study on how to measure hotel rooms, as well as Orange City, Florida, and Destin Water Users in South Walton. You can see there's a range between basically a half of the normal residential rate to roughly 70%. That all being said, one of the benefits of being a member of the Florida Rural Water Association is that they do assist with rate studies, and we have confirmed that they are willing to also help us with the methodology as well to see if we need to make a change. And so that is what staff is suggesting. We've looked at some other proposals. Obviously, there's nothing cheaper really. Well, there's nothing cheaper than free. But the other alternatives are certainly much more expensive. And so we are suggesting that we have Florida Rural Water come in, conduct a water and wastewater rate study, and also look at the billing methodology. And then after that's done, that'll give you more information to make a decision on how to change it, if at all.
Please.
In light of the recent review of our spending from last year and the decreasing of our profit, that was based upon the existing model, correct?
So the numbers that he gave you were based on the rates at the time.
So this could drastically impact that in one way or another?
At the end of the day, they'll bring forward a recommendation, and then council will make a decision. They've actually done this, was it last year or the year before? Yeah, it's probably been a couple years. They gave you all a recommendation at that time and came and present, and we had an open discussion about it. And so they would do the same thing here. One of the things that's changed since then is all of our assets are now in an inventory. And so when they're looking at rates, it's based on all of the assets that we have in the field. So when our auditors earlier were talking about the fact that it includes depreciation, well, we have that asset inventory so we can see the condition of those assets. And so it certainly helps when you're put together a rate study to have that kind of data. And so one thing that was asked earlier that I think is helpful to point out, because you saw the graph that was up there. So we had 3 years of 10% increases, so 10, 10, 10, 0. And then we've had a couple 5% increases since then. And so, it's a good practice to go through, even if it doesn't change how we adjust rates in the future. You'll have the information that you need to make a decision.
Any other questions? The only one I have is, do we have a ballpark figure how long this will take? I mean, or when they can start, or?
That's a good question. They indicate.
Dylan's gonna.
They said on there in
Dylan's
the
gonna see.
proposal, they mentioned that
Come on
items
up,
1 through
Heather.
4 will be completed within 120 days of project authorization.
120 days.
Is that correct?
Is that on there in the proposal that they mentioned that items 1 through 4 will be completed within 120 days of project authorization?
That's on page B4.
Okay.
I know, we spoke with this Florida Rural Water Association, and, basically it's first come, first serve. So I think there's 2 or 3 cities in line, but they did say nobody's got her, everything that she needs to start. So the first city to get her everything, she'll start on. And I'm guessing it might take a few months or so. I think that's what it did last time. So we're working to get everything to her now.
Okay.
Do you
So hopefully
feel
we'll be hopefully we'll be able to do it in conjunction with the budget.
That was my next question. We could have that data before the budget is
Mhm.
finalized.
Yeah, we're trying to get it so we could include it in, next year's budget.
Where is the money going to come from to pay for the 37,000?
What's 37,000?
So the 37,000 was a proposal from another consultant.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is actually at no cost because we are a Florida Rural Water Association member, so we pay an annual membership fee.
Get your 20 cents too.
I like that option.
We don't pay that much.
Thank you.
Small.
Any other questions? So motion to direct the staff to proceed with the Rural Water Association to conduct a comprehensive water wastewater rate study at no cost to the city. I like that one, including an evaluation of the billing methodology and the authorization of the city manager to approve the scope of work and execution any required agreements with the FRWA.
I'll make the motion.
I have a
Second.
first and I have a second. Any other discussion? Call for the vote. And that passed unanimously. Next, 11.4, consideration request of proposal for the third-party building plan review and inspection service. City okay, Todd.
Honorable Mayor Pro Tem and members of the City Council. For the record, Tyler Reed, Community Development Director. Tonight, staff is presenting consideration for a proposal for the third-party building plan review and inspection services. The City of Mary Esther has solicited proposals from qualified firms and government agencies to provide comprehensive third-party building plan review and inspection services. 2 formal proposals were received, one from EP Consultants Incorporated, EPCI, and CAP Government Incorporated. The selected firm will serve as the city's building official, performing Florida Building Code plan reviews and inspections for all construction permits issued by the city, including but not limited to building structural, electrical, plumbing, mechanical, gas, energy, accessibility, and fire/life safety coordination with Ocean City Wright Fire Department. The city retains administrative functions and customer service through the permit technician. The contractor shall also provide inspection services for all permit types, schedule, coordinate, and attend pre-construction meetings when applicable, and approve the assurance of the certificate of occupancy. The initial contract term shall be 1 year with up to 4 optional 1-year renewal periods. For a potential total contract term of 5 years, renewals are subject to statutory or satisfactory performance, mutual agreement, and city council appropriation. A voluntary pre-proposal conference was held on January 5th, 2026 at 10 a.m. and final formal proposals were due January 20th, 2026. A selection committee of staff members evaluated each proposal against the evaluation criteria outlined in the request for proposal package. Technical proposals were first coded based on qualifications and experience, technical approach, staffing, references, and local preference. Cost proposals were opened after technical scoring and complete and scored based on the reasonableness and competitiveness of the proposal pricing. The highest scoring proposal went to EPCI Incorporated and CAP Government Incorporated came in second. That concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Yes, sir.
Let's give one clarification here, which is that, so this is just um, to award the RFP. So we will still negotiate a contract and bring that back to the council. As Tyler mentioned, all of this is all paid out of fees. And so we're not talking about paying anything over building permit fees. One thing that I suspect that we will need to do is bring back our schedule of fees and update that, because I don't think we have anything on the books for building permit fees, or if we do, it is extremely, extremely low and not competitive with any of the other cities or the county. When it comes to these types of programs, the state does have a requirement where I believe it's every 3 years you have to expend all of those funds. And so essentially when you set your rates, your fee structure, the intention is that it will cover your admin fees and your inspection fees and nothing more. That is one reason why you will see some cities will have almost I think they call it like a building permit holiday. It's because technically they have to spend down their fund balance. I know that's a lot of information, but I just bring that up because we will have to have a contract that comes back, and we will likely have to review and update our schedule of fees.
Any other questions?
Yes, the way we're currently doing business, will that person's job description change? Will that those duties be realigned? What impact will that have internally?
So right now, our third party is through the county. So we use the county to do all of our Florida building review
So
permits.
there's no workload that's going to be impacted locally within our
Correct.
employee structure. Okay.
It will increase some over the counter, we expect, because instead of folks going to the county, they will come here. Our hope is that many of them will also pay it online, because the new service we have is pretty user friendly, and most, if not everything, can be done online when it comes to building permits.
Any other questions? All right, motion to award the EPCI Inc. the authorization, the city manager to negotiate the contract, the initial period of 1 year with up to 4 optional 1-year renewal periods and a potential total contract term of 5 years.
I'll make that motion.
I have a first
I'll second.
and a second. Any other discussion? I call for the vote. And it passed unanimously. Thank you. Next, 11.5, consideration of 2 pickup trucks for the Public Works Department.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I'm Sean Lindsay, Director of Public Works. In your packet tonight, you see where you've approved 2 pickup trucks in this year's budget. We'd like to move forward with those purchases. One vehicle will replace a 2007 Ford F-150 in Parks Division with a half-ton pickup truck, while the other will provide a 3/4 ton for the Street Division to replace a 2008 F-250. These vehicles are scheduled for replacement this year due to age and condition. The F-150 is experiencing transmission issues with the repair cost estimated about $4,000. We've actually had to take it out of service because we don't recommend repairing it because we won't get that much if you surplus it and sell it. Upon replacement, Public Works proposes reallocating the existing F-250 from the Street Division to Parks Division. This reallocation will ensure that both divisions have a truck capable of hauling heavier equipment concurrently. Presently, Public Works operates only 1 3/4 ton capable of transporting larger items such as a skid steer, excavator, spray squeegee, or the dump trailer. The addition of these vehicles will provide increased operational flexibility within the department. Florida State Term Contract number 251000023 STS covers both half-ton, 3/4 ton trucks awarded to Allen J. Fleet Sales in Sebring, Florida. Attached are the quotes for the 2 models. The 2026 Ford F-250 Super Cab pickup two-wheel drive with a 6.5-foot bed with tow package and light bar, and the 2026 F-150 Crew Cab with a V6 EcoBoost with a 5.5-foot bed for better gas mileage with a light bar. Chevy was also considered and available on state bid, but the cost difference was minor, and Ford was found to have better safety features and better life cost due to fuel mileage, tow, and haul capacity, and aluminum bodies that will corrode less over time. The financial impact, the city allocated $45,000 to purchase the half-ton pickup. The recommended F-150 cab two-wheel drive V6 EcoBoost was obtained through the state bidding at $44,084.08, resulting in a savings of $915.92 over what was budgeted. For the three-quarter ton, the budget amount was $55,000, and the selected F-250 was acquired under the state bid for $50,532.91, yielding a savings of $4,679.09. The total cost of both vehicles was $5,383.01 below the combined budget allocations. Staff recommends the city council award the Chevy 1500 and Ford F-250. Sorry, that should be Ford F-150 and Ford 250 to Allen J. Fleet Sales under Florida State Contract 251000023 STC for the total amount of $616, I don't have my glasses on, and 99 in the current Ford F-150 2007 be declared surplus. I can answer any questions.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
How detrimental to your operation if you only got one vehicle versus two?
Well, one vehicle's down completely, and so that would,
Only reason I ask is because we have a shortfall of 321,000. I
Yeah,
was wondering,
yeah.
you know, I'm not trying to rob Peter to pay Paul, but just
I
for
don't
clarity.
think it'd be detrimental just to have one, because one's gonna be another, we're gonna put one F-250, not drive it that much, but it's gonna be a backup vehicle. But the problem would be if we run into a cost of repairing them.
Thank you.
That's where I don't know.
Well, I mean, are both vehicles needed? Because I believe we're currently down some staff members.
We are down staff members, but we have one hiring that's in the process, and we have an interview scheduled this week. Haven't been scheduled yet, but will be scheduled this week probably.
We've put this off before, this is not the first time it's been up on the budget. I think last year we kind of took it out, didn't we? Or something, and
I
then
do
we
not
kind
remember
of-
that far back.
Yeah. It was kind of like, well, maybe next time, so.
Well, if one
it
vehicle's
did-
not,
Yeah.
yeah, if one
it's
vehicle's
not
not
gonna-
getting
yeah.
driven that much, then, I mean, I say we move forward with purchasing one, but not two.
Okay, that's one,
These vehicles are pretty old. I think looks like to me it's about time to replace them.
It's 2007, 2008.
Yeah, they're going on
That's what
20
I'm
years
talking about.
old.
It's
Yeah.
pretty old.
okay, so what do we want to do?
This was in the budget. This was in the budget, so we're not
Yes.
exceeding, we're going under about 5,000 or 5,000.
They went over about 5,000 what you budgeted.
We're not getting a roof.
So what do we want to do?
I make the motion to move forward with
Both?
both the F-150 and the F-250.
Yeah, second that.
Got a first and a second. Any other discussion? I call for the vote. And it passes 3-2. Next, 11.6, consideration appointment of the 2026 municipal election canvassing board. Mr. Dillon.
Yes, so Mayor Pro Tem and Council, as you know, we are a little over a week away from the election. So per that, it is a standalone election. So the supervisor of elections, county commissioners, and county judges will not be serving on the canvassing board. Per the city charter, council is to serve on the board. However, Mayor Pro Tem Oder and Councilmember Carter are disqualified since they are running in the election. And everyone else has displayed a election sign in the yard, disqualifying them per Florida statute. So with that being said,
You, Dylan.
after doing some research and some deliberation among staff, we have come to the recommendation that I, as the city clerk, serve on the canvassing board, as typically the city clerk has served on it in the past, and I am a disinterested party as I cannot vote in the election. Susan McDonald, the administrative coordinator, is as well a disinterested party as she lives in Fort Walton, and what was his title? Library director Hunter Murphy, while is a resident, has not displayed a election sign or publicly endorsed or opposed a candidate, so he is qualified as well. So, with that all being said, that is who we recommend is City Clerk Dylan Morris, Administrative Coordinator Susan McDonald, and Library Director Hunter Murphy to serve as the canvassing board. I have already gone to the LNA testing, so it is kind of very late in the game to change. So, any discussion?
This canvassing board meets in Crestview, correct?
In the Supervisor of Elections office.
Okay. Any other comments? Suggestions? Okay, motion to appoint the city clerk Dylan Morris, administrative coordinator Susan McDonald, and library director Hunter Murphy to serve as a canvassing board for the 2026 municipal election.
I'll make the motion.
I have a first,
Second.
and we have a second. Any other discussion? I call for the vote. And it passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, 11.7, consideration of facilitator for the 2026 city manager evaluation.
Yes, Mayor and Council, as you know, Dr. Hanlon has facilitated my evaluation since 2021. He has submitted a proposal for this current fiscal year as well. I provide you with a few options here. So he's proposed to continue, but if you'd like, I can also look at other potential facilitators for the 2026 evaluation, or if there's some other alternative direction that you all have, I'm happy to hear that as well. I think at the end of the day, the one thing that is important through all this is that we make it clear that it is a part of our culture that we will have evaluations, so that it's more or less committed to muscle memory. It's not so much about the person that's currently in the seat, myself, it's whoever was to come after me, that would continue in some way, but it doesn't mean that it has to continue in the exact same format that it is today.
I have a question for you. Currently, we have evaluation forms for our other department heads. Can we not use that for you?
So the difference would be that with our current evaluation process, those come to me to review. And every now and then they do get sent back for some changes. And so with this process, there would still have to be somebody who would have to bring those together and summarize, essentially, which is the same thing that Dr. Hanlon does. And typically you'd want a disinterested party. So it would be a bit awkward, to be frank, to have a staff member that's doing that, because it kind of brings them into the sort of the political dynamic.
I'd like to explore other options then.
Council,
Please.
I would like for us to consider, given the track record of the city manager, move the evaluation from every year to every other year. In other words, we'd skip this year, and then we could do what you suggest, ma'am, of other options. But given his track record, not to do away with it, but his historical performance, I think gives him a bye for this coming year. What do you think?
Anyone else?
Can't wait to replace these microphones.
Yeah.
Real quick, just to respond to Councilmember Carter. So we do have you all on kind of a schedule to meet with me quarterly as is. And so one thing that we could look at doing is kind of making that last quarterly review somewhat of an evaluation. And so if you all want to look at something like that, that type of model, I'm happy to bring back some options. You don't have to make a decision tonight. The question that I received was essentially, do you want Dr. Hanlon to continue? And if the answer is you want to look at other options, I'm happy to bring those back to you.
Other comments? Personally, I like the idea of looking at it, and I like our quarterly meetings. And I would rather admit I'm in here way more than quarterly, or at least almost weekly. So I'm probably more familiar with Jared and stuff. But yeah, I think it's time to move on, and also talking to other cities, Crestview, Defuniak, Milton. I mean, a lot of them don't even do it. They just, hey, you're doing a good job. And by the way, when it's salaries every year, the budget will bump him up a few points or whatever that way. So yeah, I'm all for evaluating it. And again, I like every other year option.
You can look at other options. I mean, we've had Dr. Hanlon for what, 5 years now. Generally, we reassess any contracts, period, every 5 years. So I don't think there's any reason not to do the same thing.
I know it's not a lot of money, but $4,500 would help. But just based upon historical performance, the other option, whether it's someone else, but the idea of, I think you've gotten to a point you don't need
Right,
every
like the
year.
first year, second year, yes, because we have to have, the yearly, and then he's been past a certain point. I think we can do every other year after, like, we can make a code of after 3 years, every other year, or of something like that.
I like that.
What do you think? Okay,
So does everyone agree?
yeah, fine. Oh, yeah.
Do I still need to make a motion?
What do we agree?
To
To
put it
look for
off.
other options, and are
Yeah.
we gonna do one this year, or
I think
skip this year and go next year?
My suggestion would just be the option 3, which is to have the city manager research some additional options and bring those back to you.
Okay,
Okay,
yes.
perfect.
I make that.
What is the motion, so I have it for the record?
Provide an alternative direction regarding the 2026 city manager evaluation process. How's that?
Who's the first and second on that? So
It has,
I don't think we've done,
Yeah, we haven't done first
we
and
haven't
second.
gotten that far yet.
Okay. Make it first,
I make the motion that we proceed as described.
I'll second.
second.
Here we go.
Any other discussion? Dylan, if you're ready.
1 second. And I'm sorry, one,
motion back. Read so they know they voted.
I think it shows 3 votes.
motion to provide an alternative direction regarding the financial 2026, finance year 2026 city manager evaluation process.
Works for
Is that
me.
Hayward?
Yeah, fiscal year, yeah, okay.
And then who was the first and second? I'm sorry.
First was Larry, second was Sutton. This one's being goofy, but I think it's.
Thank you for the patience.
Yeah, like 4 times.
And that passed unanimously. Okay, next is the 11.8 discussion of Mary Esther Elementary Charter School Report.
So Mayor and Council, you all have a copy of this in your packet, so I'm going to go ahead and just hit the highlights. On February 23rd, 2026, the Okaloosa County School Board did vote to close Mary Esther Elementary at the end of the school year. They also voted to surplus the school as well. There are a few things that I looked at as part of this research, and so here are the basic findings. The first one was that Florida law does require surplus school facilities to be made available for charter school use. There are a number of different ways that can happen. It can be through a conversion charter school. So essentially, before the school closes, there is a move to convert it to a charter school. There is a provision where a city can operate a charter school. There's also, even after the school has closed, the opportunity for a charter school to apply for a charter, similar to what you have with Destin Charter School or with Liza Jackson. The second is that the city can facilitate a charter school without operating one. And so if the city council said it's very important to us that we maintain a school within the boundaries of Mary Esther, the city council could work to recruit essentially a charter school operator. And there's a number of different ways to do that. Finding 3, this one, I think there are a lot of people that do not understand that a charter school is a public school. So in Florida, all charter schools are public schools. They do have certain requirements that they have to meet with the school district. And so it's not that they are able to there are definitely still some measures for accountability involved. Finally, school quality does matter. So when you're looking at the idea of a charter school, if the council said, well, we really want to have a charter school because we want to ensure that we have a quality school within the community. At the end of the day, the city council can help facilitate that arrangement, but it's up to the school district to decide who they want to approve to run that charter school. They can also say no to a charter school, and then it can be appealed to the state, which the state does maintain the authority to actually direct a school district to allow for a charter school. The 5th finding, which we already know, is that the school district does oppose a charter school at that location. And so just to give, let's see. So the final point here would be that if the school is proposed to close, as of right now, there is no charter school proposed. And so that would, just as a side note, that would mean that that school zone designation would go away at that point. And so, you know, the opportunity before to have the school zone speed program to slow folks down on 98, that would go away with the school as well. With that being said, provided some information for you as directed at the last council meeting, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. If I don't have the answers, we might have to bring those back to you.
Did you find out about transportation?
I did not.
Is there any interested parties so far?
So part of the discussion we had at the last council meeting was that we were not going to reach out until we receive additional direction from the council.
I'm not really comfortable soliciting a charter school for a property that we do not own or really have a say over. I am for better education for our kids and our neighbors. And if that means consolidating schools to have a great education for these kids, then that's what needs to happen. But to have a charter school for a handful of kids in the city of Mary Esther that may or may not be a better education system, and a building that is 60 years old that needs extensive renovation, I do have a problem with that. I also have a problem directing our staff to look into this for property we do not own when we already have our hands full with other projects in the city like water and sewer, police, fire. We have a number of projects that we do own and control. This would be like us looking into the mall to say, hey, we want a Sears here versus Walmart, or I want a Trader Joe's versus Walmart. I'm not in the habit of dictating to another property owner of what they need to do with their property.
I think fighting for a school for the sake of having a school to say we have a school isn't really the right fight. I think, you know, we have to look at the district. The district made a decision. Do I like it? No. Did I have to go home that night and tell my child who still has physical connection to that school what happened? No, I don't. But she's still in the public school system, and we're trying to protect the kids in the public school system. And if we put in a school that's going to pull away from the public school system, we're actually just adding to what happened and why it happened. So, I just think, again, it's not our pond to put the foot in right now. When it comes to us, what wants to be there, that's fine, like we are with the mall.
I don't see a problem with seeing if there's interested parties. It's not just to keep a school, but to educate our kids.
Carter?
This issue, since its inception, has, in some sense, divided consensus of which way to go for the future. So how do you have a, how can you have the best optics? And I think that's all of us would like to have the best possible optics as to proceed. I don't have a crystal ball to look into the future. Some facts, uh, no matter how you look at it, we can't change, and that's the birth rate, population growth from Mary Esther, and the fact that people are having children later in life. So those three components is like a trifecta for, I won't say for doom, but it would be a tremendous challenge to overcome. I respect my colleagues. I think the idea of having a school is a wonderful thing. Um, but my optics is there's 4,400 people that live in Mary Esther. What's the best thing we can do with the hand that's dealt us? Fighting for or supporting or however that optics you want to define it. I said from the onset of this discussion that my hope would be that this opportunity that's now before the city of Mary Esther, that our opportunity to add revenue to do the projects that are necessary, we have an opportunity to affect 4,500 citizens versus a population. One of the things about the charter school, how many children that live in Mary Esther would actually go there. I mean, and there's some questions we just can't get the answer, because if we could say, well, we'll have 300 students or 400 students and this, that, and the other. I mean, um, what makes this conversation so difficult is there's so many unknowns. But given what I do know, and sometimes the choices is not what we would like for them to be, but my support goes to whatever could add to the tax revenue for our city. We funded, or the board approved buying 2 trucks. That'd have been a lot easier if we had more revenue. So they're, postponing that roof repair. With the opportunity, looking at that page 398, what revenue we get from Target, what we get from the Renaissance Center, and now we have a third one that could be added to that dynamic. Uh, and looking at our debt to debt to income ratio, um, I think, and like I said, I haven't done the Vulcan mind melt to all the citizens of Mary Esther what they think, and I'm not saying because they're not here they don't care, but my vote is to support whatever would manifest itself into a retail revenue producing property. And not that the school board's decision swayed me, but I did take into consideration the minds who are chartered to provide education for Okaloosa County, and their input was important to me because that's the way they ruled. So, I mean, uh, if you want brain surgery, you don't talk to a foot doctor, you talk to a brain surgeon. So I'm not, and I'm not trying to be um, cute or, but I just want to give you why I labored so hard to come up to a decision. And I'm looking for um, revenue. We had a shortfall last fiscal year, and our charter requires us to provide certain services. And how can we best do that? And when an opportunity to have another revenue producing property, that's hard to walk away from me. So that's my point. I know it took a long time, but I just want to kind of explain how I got to that decision.
Thank you, Councilmember Carter. I really greatly respect the school board's decision. I don't think they came to the decision easily. I'm not a school board, so therefore I do not want to be a school board member. And I, we now actually have a better relationship with the school board, and I'd like that to continue so that in future they come to our city as a school board and say, hey, we've got opportunities for Mary Esther, residents and their kids. in this school. And, I think that going forward, we will have a much better relationship and it will benefit our students too. So that's my thing. So thank you.
Thank you. Now it's my turn,
Okay.
please. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Larson, go ahead.
The number of students in our Mary Esther Elementary School is really close to a lot of other elementary schools. It's not that far-fetched that some, like you talked about before, even Herbertfield diverting some students to get it to match the other ones. All right, I'm done.
Okay. Let me share with you my research. Okay. Yes, the Mary Esther School population has gone down. This is very true. Liza Jackson Charter School has a 3-year waiting list. There's nothing stopping Liza Jackson Charter School to come in here and say, we want to make Liza Jackson West and take over that facility. Which again, with a 3-year waiting list, the people that want to get in there, that's good. All right. Also, I would remind everyone, on our logo, the top right-hand corner, it says families. It's not just the voting people we have to worry about. This is our future. Hopefully, we'll have a few more doctors and teachers and other people in this. So I have a real issue of giving away an education facility, especially when I went to the staff at the school board and showed them I could move 33 students on one bus instead of moving 390 out of Mary Esther. They didn't want to hear that. Okay? I'm all for accountability of people. All right? We've had this school forever and a day. Our own mayor went there back in the 60s. All right? So now, I'm also a big boy. If we vote 4-1 or 3-2, whatever, I will sing the song that we vote for. So my question to you, who wants to make the motion?
I make the motion that we do nothing and we respect the school board's decision because this is not our property.
That's a first.
I second.
Second. Any other discussion? I call for the vote.
And just so I got it, the motion is to do nothing and respect the school board decision.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And it passes 3-2. And last but not least, it's 11.9, which there it is. The city manager, I don't want to read it because it says this, authorization to submit the federal community project funding request for Highway 98 water main replacement project.
Yes, thank you. So there was we did receive information that there is a potential grant opportunity through our federal representative. This is for fiscal year 2027. And so there were a couple projects that I was thinking that we might be able to apply for. One was the wastewater connection to Okaloosa County. After putting a lot of thought into that, that may be a little premature because we haven't yet made that final decision that that's what we're going to move forward with. I think we also, at this point, there's still more information that we need to even determine how much we would request. This other project, the water line on Highway 98, as you know, we already have half of it funded. We've requested state appropriation for the second phase. And we also did commit roughly 1.5 million in local funds to that second phase. And so the idea behind this request would be if we receive the state appropriation, and we were lucky enough to receive an appropriation through our federal representative, then that would fully fund the project. If we don't receive the state appropriation, then this would at least cover half of it. And so we're essentially not putting up additional match funding. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. This motion would simply allow the city manager to submit the grant application using that same 1.55 million in match for the project.
Discussion?
I'm good with it.
I ask the city clerk to read the resolution.
Resolution number 26-06, a resolution of the City of Mary Esther, Florida, authorizing the city manager to submit a community project funding request to Congressman Jimmy Patronis for fiscal year 2027 federal appropriations for the City of Mary Esther Highway 98 water main replacement project and providing an effective date.
I'll make that motion.
I have a first,
Second.
second. Call for the vote. And it passes unanimously. Okay, now, council standing committee status reports. Ms. Sutton, you're up.
Yeah, so DOT has started work on the Eglin
Yes. Give the sample.
resurfacing property. That is a much applauded project. Also, they are looking at doing some resurfacing from on the Bill Parkway up to Mary Esther Cutoff. That right there is currently sitting at 60% in the stage. So that is coming up soon. And then last, I just have a thing about emails. Can we maybe do away with some of the duplicate emails that we get? Thank you, Dylan Morris, for sending us so much, but I already, we can sign up for all the Florida League of Cities things, and I get them in duplicate daily.
Chamber, all that kind of.
Yeah, so if you want these, if you could sign up for them, and if you don't, well, then, you know, it's your personal choice, but I don't necessarily need them forwarded to me a second time.
Are you done?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I don't have anything.
I imagine we'll start with our Veterans for Day planning pretty soon.
I'm going to have to look at the calendar. But yes, usually we start, usually,
After budget.
yeah, usually after budget, early summer,
Yeah,
early
'cause-
summer.
Yeah, because as we enter into that discussion, you know, we had one discussion that the city would take a different role. And I'm looking forward to lobby for that.
Okay, the other ones I have, actually, Ms. Sutton, this is for you. Your Emerald Coast Regional Council had a meeting on February 18th. Can you tell us what that meeting was about?
Yes, I'm currently awaiting some slides that will be sent to everyone. So
Okay.
unfortunately, yeah, but no real status change. Okaloosa County is looking to, of course, produce Round the Mound funding again. So, but right now I'm waiting for the documentation there.
I was reading the brochure that they sent out, which I loved it because it says also the Florida League of Cities are partners with them. Also, I understand they have a great grant program.
Yes, and we utilize a lot of their grants.
Good, good. So yes, thank you. The Okaloosa County Public Library meeting is meeting on March 24th up in Niceville again. I also went to the Florida Leagues of Mayors meeting down in Ocala, which was interesting because it was a crisis communication. And I brought some information back, shared it with the city manager, who's also going to share it with our PIO, which I'm sure we all know the PIO for us is the mayor, besides the city manager, which again is very important because again, it's only a matter of when the next storm comes and who's going to be standing out there, or God forbid, we have a sewage spill or something like that. Also a reminder, it's all been on the city website, we are in the early voting. The 2nd through the 6th of March, you can go to the courthouse there or in Shalimar and vote, and they're open from 8:30 till 4:30 this week. Also, March 10th is the election is at the Sunshine City Church, formerly known the First Baptist Church on North Avenue, 28 North Avenue. And the Northwest Florida Leagues of Cities is having a dinner on March 26th in Marianna, Florida. We're going to be trying to go more east and west so people don't have to drive as far and stuff like that. And I pass it off to the attorney. No?
Check your mailbox, do your financial disclosure, do your ethics training, do your cybersecurity training. And finally, the board for the Okaloosa County League of Cities today voted to have Mary Esther and Shalimar swap the dates. This is because The board wanted to do a joint dinner with the Northwest Florida League of Cities. So Shalimar said they would do it. So we're still having a dinner, but ours is going to be January 21st, 27. So
Okay.
sorry. That's all I got.
Just said it.
City manager.
Yes, thank you, thank you. So a few updates. One, we have been working on implementing new software for business licenses, also for code compliance and citizen request. So that has been done. So the rest of this week, we're going to be making some updates to the website. So you should see that pretty shortly. The other thing is the new city hall is continuing to move. On those improvements, you might note that the paving was slurry sealed and striped in the past week. If you would like, I'm happy to give you all tours since we're getting close to the end. So please just reach out to me and we will get that scheduled.
How's the striping in the parking lot? How's that look?
It looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. They got it done pretty quickly.
Anything?
It was in accordance with the plans that were approved.
And the sign?
There are a number of items that are on a punch list that we are working through.
How long is the punch list? Is it very lengthy? Always ask if the council.
Punch list.
There are a number of items. I was told that they will be in town this week, and so I'm hoping to catch up with them.
I'll make a meeting with you so I can see what the punch list is. I was out of curiosity. What's remaining to be done?
That's all I have.
If there's nothing else, I'll call the meeting adjourned.
Hey, you're good. Yours.